Okay.
So we are talking with Neal Smith, better known for his days with the Alice Cooper Band, and of course now he's doing his own solo work. How you doing, Neil?
I'm doing great. How you doing today, Mitch?
Good, good. So we got you on today for a couple of reasons. We've got the new audio Fidelity release of Billion Dollar Babies coming out.
Right.
And then we've also got some Kill Smith stuff. So let's start with your own solo stuff. What are you up to in terms of new music or books, or what do you got?
Yeah. Well, I'm actually have a couple of projects. One is my new album, and it's the third in the Killsmith, my solo project called Killsmith, and it's the first one was Sexual Savior, then Killsmith 2, and
Right.
this one's going to be called Green Killsmith and the Green Fire Empire.
Okay.
And it's a total concept, and it's the first time I've really put a package together. I don't like to use the term rock opera, but that's probably the closest term I could use to it. And I've been working on it. Started writing the songs about a year ago, and we're in the final mixes of mixing there's 11 new songs, and working on that right now. So that's been a great distraction for the snowstorms back here in New England.
Oh, I can imagine. It's been brutal this year, and I'm up in Montreal, so believe me, it's been even worse. I can guarantee
Okay.
it.
Well, I bet. That's one of my favorite cities in the world. But so the fellow Peter Catucci that I work. He's a bass player, and we record all the basic tracks, and then get some friends to come in and sort of fill in the gaps here and there, and we've been, I'm very, very excited about it. It still has a lot of heavy metal, but this time I have some more classic style rock ballads, and even sort of a New Orleans kind of blues jazz song that I have a black singer who's a friend of mine who has a great, great, beautiful voice, and he has a lot more soul than I do, so he agreed to help me out with it, and so there's a lot of different textures in the
album.
in the music, yeah, and I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, is that something at some point you want to take out on the road and play live, or have you, are your live playing days done?
Well, I mean, actually, because of the concept, I would love to film it. I may even write a screenplay around it. But
okay.
I mean, it certainly could be played live. But at this point, I'm a little more excited about what I can do in the possibility of turning each song into a video
Okay.
as a start, and like Squeeze Like a Python, which I'm sure you may have seen at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Off the last album. So that's really what I've been involved with, and playing with some great players, and I actually have a wonderful female vocalist who is also accompanying some of the songs, and so it's really a different. If I would relate it, probably closer to something like School's Out or Billion Dollar Babies, as far as going through a lot of different changes with the music.
So I mean, after you left the Cooper Band and stuff, you've been a real estate agent, and you did that for a while. What keeps you coming back to playing music? Why haven't you just sort of put that in your past?
Well, there's no musician that just cannot, especially when you write, you're creative.
Right.
And I mean, I play drums. That's my specialty,
Mm-hmm.
but I also taught myself to play guitar and play keyboards. And so, because I love to write, and going back to even on Love It to Death when I wrote the song "Hallowed Be My Name," and
Great song, by the
I that was something I played guitar and I wrote the song. It was and the arrangement that we did is exact the way I wrote the song. So. You just keep trying to learn and push yourself and be more creative. And you think at some point the creative juices will stop flowing, but it's quite the opposite. The more I get into it, the more. I mean, I'm not even finished with this one yet, and I'm already excited to write some brand new songs. So it just keeps evolving, and plus I still am in the real estate business.
Right.
I'm with the Sotheby's in Westport, Connecticut.
Oh, good.
The Sotheby's affiliate, and I still do that. But the economy has been a sluggish the last couple of years, and so that certainly gave me time to get involved, especially with the Hall of Fame induction a couple of years ago in 2011, and the ability to take some time off and put the band back together for some special shows around the country. So I'm pretty blessed from the standpoint that I do have that ability to make time for myself and do things I like to do on top of the normal business. But it's not a 24/7 thing at all with the real estate, and but it's still
there.
The way that I still love to do that as well.
When I think the last time we did an interview was around the Hall of Fame, and you had done the Jägermeister 4D concert, and you had done a couple of shows with Alice.
Right.
Has anything changed in terms of playing a few more shows with Alice, or having the guys that are still around come out and do a couple more shows, or is that sort of?
Well, I mean, we were a little disappointed. We wanted to do some more shows after because we had started in 2010 at Alice's Christmas pudding in Phoenix, and that was when we were nominated to the Hall of Fame. And while we were in rehearsals in December, getting ready for that show, then it was announced that of the 15 nominees, we were one of the 5 that were inducted into the Hall of Fame, as we discussed before, like you said, Mitch. And so it had been a while, obviously, since we played. We played in 2006, but 2010, 4 years later, we played. And Steve Hunter joined us and played with us on those shows. And then a couple months later, the Hall of Fame, we did those shows. They went out to California and we did the Jägermeister filming, and then we did a show at the Nokia Theater out there for the Golden Gods Award.
Right, that's right.
So by that time, the band was very, very tight and sounded great. And I thought we were going to do some more things, but Alice, went back on the road, did a solo thing, and really no more mention. Nothing more was mentioned. Last year was the 40th anniversary. 2013 was the 40th anniversary of the $1 Billion Baby album, which I think sparked this SACD that was just released,
right?
And the Super Audio CD. So that was it. I was hoping to do maybe a couple of shows with the $1 Billion Baby
lineup and stuff,
like we did with the $1 Billion Baby tour, but that never happened. And we had a lot of fans that were very disappointed that after the Hall of Fame we didn't do a little bit more. But again, unfortunately, Alice sets his solo tour, takes off, and pretty much sticks with that. And we did a couple of songs off the Welcome to My Nightmare album, which were great songs. And
yeah, absolutely.
I'd be willing to do more, and we're always ready to go. I know Dennis would love to play, and I know Michael would too. So we just always have to see what happens. But I think Alice, he loves doing what he's doing. He's got a great band now, and I love to, the writing of the original band is certainly unique, and I think that those 3 songs, Runaway Train, When Hell Comes Home, and I'll Bite Your Face Off, pretty much stand out on the Welcome to My Nightmare album as, the original band.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And, and even if it's not an extended touring or a reunion tour, which is the term that people love to use, it'd be nice to have the Jägermeister audio released as a CD and have all this stuff done. But what are we going to do? But let's talk about $1 Billion Babies. Now they just released it on February 4th as this SACD,
right.
Audio Fidelity. Tell me a little bit about those days. I mean, those were pretty wild days. The sessions you had pretty much everybody come in, right, from Keith Moon to everybody.
Well, during the session, nobody else played on the album, but I think Steve Hunter did a couple of things. Dick Wagner may have played some lead, but we also had a friend of ours, Mick Mashburn, who Mick ended up playing actually more on Muscle of Love,
right?
And but during the sessions, they were pretty crazy because we did some of the songs in our mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut. Elected was recorded there. We did some of the recordings in like $1 Billion Babies were recorded in New York at the record plant. and then over Morgan's studio in London at the end of 1972 when we were on our European tour, which was just really the very end, the end of the Schools Out tour.
Right.
And then the first time we took it to Europe, we were in the studio and we recorded songs like Generation Landslide, which was the last song we recorded on the album. So it was a blast from that standpoint that we were able to record it, at our home in Greenwich and in New York and in London. And by that time, the band was so big or huge isn't the word I want to use, but I mean, we'd reached such a level that we really could call our own shots and do what we wanted to do. And drag, Bob Ezrin, of course, was with us all the way through all of that on $1 Billion Babies, and which was actually his last album that they did with the original band.
Right, and then of course, let's talk about working with Bob back then. But of course, on Alice's Welcome to My Nightmare 2 album, Bob was there again. How was it working with Bob? What are we looking at? 40 years later? How was it coming back?
Well, I mean, it was one cool thing about that is that for about 10 years I've been trying to get the original band, back together with Bob to do some recording.
Right.
Because I wanted the original chemistry. I wanted Bob working with us because it's just a very natural, very creative combination of us all playing together. It's a great formula, and I talked to Alice about it a lot. I talked to Shep about it, and everybody was, we're ready to, ready to do it, but it never happened. And until Alice was doing Welcome to My Nightmare, and hold on one second. You have to have a quick sip of water here. Until they went through, because we're always, I mean, even over the years, we've been, giving each other material all the time.
Right.
I every time I'm ready to, even my new CD, it's pretty much, before it's even released, I'll send a copy of it to Bob Ezrin so we can hear it. And that's what I did with Kill Smith 2. And they like the song off Kill Smith 2 called Evil Voodoo Moon.
Right.
And they, Bob and Allison and their guitar player that works with him,
Tommy.
Tommy, they did an arrangement of it and rewrote the song and called it I'll Bite Your Face Off. They did the same thing with the song of Dennis's, that was Runaway Train, right. And then Michael Bruce's song When Hell Comes Home. We did it actually exactly Michael's arrangement right off his demo tape. So it was, and that's how good the arrangement was, and I love that song. It came out great on Alice's album. Okay. But so it was just great. I mean, we were in the studio. Dennis brought a little memorial. Dennis had some of Glenn's, a little amplifier of Glenn's, and we made a little memorial in the studio in New York where we recorded the songs, and so he was certainly there in spirit with us, and the four of us put the tracks down, and then later on, I think Orthiana, is that her name? The gal.
Orianthi,
yeah. She came in, I believe, and she I think she played guitar on the song, and which is great. She's an amazing guitarist.
Oh, she absolutely is. Yeah, I'll give you that.
So it was, it was like no time had passed. And, you hear that with bands that get back together after many years. It's like no time passed. And everybody was still, making this same stupid jokes and remarks that we did, years ago. And the bottom line is the music sounds fantastic. And it was, it's like family. And I wish we could have done a few more songs, but I'm thankful for the opportunity that we got to do the three that we did.
Now, why do you think that here, sitting in 2014, we're still talking about the $1 Billion Babies album? What made it so special that it's just, it's been around for 40 some years now?
Well, I think one of the things was that we were a very, very focused band. We were lucky to have management like Shep Gordon and Live Enterprises, and we were lucky that we went after Nimbus 9 up in Canada and with Jack Richardson, and he threw the newest guy in his company at us, Bob Ezrin, and he was our first real producer, and we were the first band he ever worked with. and it ended up, like everything that we did, it just worked out perfectly. And so even from Love It to Death and a song like Caught in a Dream, we sort of predicting, I need a houseboat, I need a limo, I need a jet plane, and all these things, and we ended up getting it. And so by the time the babies came around, we had made our prediction back to Love It to Death, and a couple of albums later, we had everything we'd ever dreamed about and more.
Right.
And then Schools Out went to number 2. I mean, we never, if we would have had an album that, would have went, Selling Gold would have been great. But after Love It to Death, I mean, Killer went gold, Schools Out went gold, and they both went platinum. And now, I mean, all 3 of them were gold and platinum: Love It to Death, Killer, and Schools Out. So to have an album. We wanted a solid, strong album after Schools Out, naturally. And of course, our following was huge. But the fact that the matter is that the music in the album still has to be great. And so Michael was writing some great stuff. I had the song Unfinished Suite on there.
Yeah.
We co-wrote Elected, and some of the I Love the Dead and Sick Thing. I mean, just some of the the really macabre side of Alice Cooper, that's the mood that I love. We had some great stuff, and so it really even amplified more what we were. And I think that the fact that Bob was so into it, it was a perfect mixture for him to produce songs, our songs on a grand scale. And Hello Hooray, we had, there's cannons firing at the end of the songs. It fades out. It's a very, very subtle, but they're in there. And so it became a theatrical presentation that we took it to the stage. And again, the stage show was phenomenal. But after all this time, and all these years, like you just mentioned, it's the music that's the strength of the album. And I think that for us it was us like putting it back in all the critics that criticized us through the years. We just kind of threw it back in their faces and went, "Fuck you." We did what we wanted, and this is our album. And now we're making tons of money. We're selling more tickets and making more money on the road than any other band, and doing the biggest stage show. People, we're playing like Three Rivers Stadium. All of a sudden we've gone from auditoriums to outdoors like the Beatles, playing these big giant arenas and venues. So we had moved to a level that we were still going to outdo that. Then 40 years ago, in the spring of 1974, we went to South America. We played an indoor concert, had 125,000 people in one show indoors.
Wow!
And we set the Guinness Book of World Records for another 20 years after that, before that record was beat. So the band was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And like Shep said, we were so close to really dominating the world with our music. We were right at the doorstep, the threshold of that. And
it was remarkable because the 2 Frank Zappa albums that you had done for Frank Zappa's label,
yeah,
you essentially should have given up and been dead and buried, and then along came that 3rd album and everything just turned around.
Yeah, well, that was a testimonial to not only our endurance and our drive and determination, but also the songwriting, because everybody said, well, what happened to Bob? Yeah, Bob had a lot to do with it, but our songs changed.
Right.
I mean, we wrote crazy, weird stuff on the first 2 albums, and there were a couple of them, Return of the Spiders and Shoe Set. Maybe there were a couple of songs that...
Reflected.
Reflected, and which became Elected eventually, and rearranged. So, the music, our songwriting was changing, and Bob, it was like perfect timing when Bob started to work with us for Love It to Death. And then, it was a matter of just hitting right. The kids and the fans and in the music world at that time really wanted something to, it was a new decade. It was the 70s. It was no longer the 60s. No longer the 60s. So I think that, timing was really good for us as well, and it was just a lot, plus a lot of luck. I mean, we were at the right place at the right time a lot of times when things were starting to click for us. But, again, in my book that I've been working on for years now, I mentioned the fact, I said, most bands have a shot at the first album. If they're lucky, they get a shot at a second album. We were incredibly super lucky to get a shot at the third album. And for us, the third time was the charm, and that's what did it. And so I just think that it was the time, we had, not saying that we knew what was going to happen, but in our minds, we knew what we wanted to have happen. And $1 Billion Babies was kind of like saying, we've done it, and the kids dug it. They understand it. They understood it. They got it. And it was just for us, it was just like the greatest thing. And it went to number one in Cashbox, in Record World, in Billboard magazine in April of 1974 or 1973 was just beyond our, we never had a number one album before.
Yeah, and you're right about the timing, because had you tried to do a band like this in 2014, you barely get a single to prove yourself, much less 3 albums. So totally magical. Exactly. Totally magical. Let's wrap this one up here. So what are we plugging? Is there a nealsmith.com, or where can people find you?
Yeah, nealsmithrocks.com is the website. Yeah, nealsmith.com still works, but directly to it, Neal Smith Rocks, and it's NealSmithrocks, and that's the correct spelling of the name Neal.
That's right. And when is you mentioned a book? Is there any kind of deadline on when a book might come out, or is this sort of?
I with the last couple of years and the Hall of Fame and everything, I sort of put it on the back burner.
Okay.
And hopefully, after I get this new CD complete, I'll be able to spend more time with it. So it'll still be a couple of years out, but I'm way past halfway finished with the book. So.
Okay.
And I know Dennis has been working on one, and I think his will be out in the near future, which would be great too.
Now, and your book in particular, is it sort of the Neal Smith story, or is it the Alice Cooper years story?
Well, it's really my whole, because I was in a lot. I've had a lot of music since I was a kid. I mean, it's
right.
Starts in the Midwest when I was born in Ohio, and then. Because I think it's, I played in marching band. All the stuff I did musically, I started playing when I was like 11 years old.
Oh,
so it wasn't like like some bands, the drummer just learned some song by the Beatles and then started playing. I was already a pretty well versed percussionist by that time.
Okay, yeah. And are you still with the big giant drum set, or are you down to a sort of a single, a snare and a bass drum at this point?
Well, I record with about half the drums I normally record with, which is about a about a 5 or 6 piece set with 2 times 4 time bass drum and snare, and it's just a matter of. Like in the video of Squeeze Like a Python off of Killsmith 2, I had a bigger double bass drum set in there. So whenever I can, I like to use a large set of drums. And I wanted to buy the set of drums that I played in the Hall of Fame and on the TV show, and because it was DW Drums that put that set together for me. But I really didn't have any place to keep them because I've got over 100 drums now. So I've got to get rid of some drums before I get some more. Wow.
What was the largest set you ever played with on stage? 40 piece?
Well, it was the $1 Billion Baby set. That drum set had 22 drums in it.
And you played them all, which is remarkable. A lot of people put stuff up for show, but you actually played them all, which was
all those heads all the heads got changed every night. Can you imagine being my roadie? Brand new heads on every drum every night of the $1 Billion Baby tour.
Who was the roadie? I think he deserves a special shout out on this one.
Yeah, we had 2 brothers that worked for us, Goose Graham and Mike Graham, and they were both great. They're both from Detroit. And do you ever see the movie Slapshot?
I did, more than once. It's the greatest movie ever filmed.
And I love that movie. Remember the Hanson brothers?
Oh yes. Let's put some foil on.
Goose was one of the Hanson brothers.
Was he really?
Yeah, no, he not in real life, but I mean,
in the movie.
He could have been. Oh. He could have looked like him. He could have been his identical twin. He could have been the twin. He could have been the third Hanson brother.
Oh, that's funny.
He looked identical to him. Had the big glasses on, and he didn't argue with people. He just punch him in the mouth. And he and I were like best buddies. But if I was ever, is there anybody that I ever wanted in a fight, it would have been him. And he's a great guy, and and a hard worker. I mean, he was there. You know, he and his brother Mike. His Mike took care of the guitars and the amps, and Goose just took care of the drums. But every night he had brand new heads on the batter heads and all those 22 drums every single night. So it took him hours to do that, but you know, it was something that had to be done, and he probably wasn't too happy about it.
Did you also have him shine up the cymbals every night too?
Yep.
What a thankless job. Hey, on that.
Yeah, but I didn't. You know, I didn't have that many cymbals. I only had a hi-hat and then 3 or 4 cymbals. I'm not one of these drummers that have all these tons of cymbals, because you know, first of all, you can't really see the drummer that well, and I was doing enough show stuff that I at least wanted the audience to kind of see what I was doing while I was playing. You know.
Fair enough.
So I didn't want to hide behind a wall. So I just needed 3 or 4 cymbals was more than enough for me to play.
So perfect. So let's again, nealsmithrocks.com, and let's get the album, and let's get this book done. I think fans want to read that one. So.
All right. Well, I will certainly be working on it in the near future. All right.
Great. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome, Mitch. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.